Hello, our names are
Max Harris
and Nate Vokes. For our project, we were assigned to create a video on a topic we chose. The topic we selected is what is urban development and the effect it has on coastal areas. Our project focuses on dams and how they protect land in coastal areas at risk of flooding. Our two main topics are the New Orleans Breakwall and the Netherlands Delta Works. What is urban development?
Urban development is the act of building or rebuilding a structure.
An example is the New Orleans Breakwall.
In New Orleans, a breakwall was created. It would cost $14.5 billion. It was meant to protect New Orleans, Louisiana, from Hurricane Katrina on August 29, 2005. The breakwall failed to protect Louisiana from Hurricane Katrina. This led to 80% of the New Orleans to flood. The result of this led to 100,000 homes to be flooded and destroyed. Let's go more into depth about the breakwall. As we all know, the New Orleans breakwall costed $14.5 billion. But you think with that much money, they'd actually buy reliable resources to create the breakwall. The New Orleans breakwall was constructed of erodible materials such as sand, stone, and concrete. While creating the breakwall, they should have used concrete with reinforced rebar within it. As you can see, the water is rising over the breakwall, causing everything on the other side to flood. The residents were evacuated to higher ground. As you can see, the water is rising over the breakwall. A way they could have prevented this is by making the breakwall taller so the water wouldn't rise over it. There were three major breaches in the New Orleans breakwall. The first major breach occurred on the Industrial Canal. The second major breach occurred on the west side of New Orleans, where the water had risen 4 feet taller than the actual breakwall itself. The third breach occurred on the London Avenue Canal. As you can see, the New Orleans breakwall was very unsuccessful and costed billions. But not all dams and river systems have been unsuccessful. In 1953, the North Sea flooded. The storm was caused by a spring tide. A spring tide occurs once in a lunar month. This happens when the moon and the sun shift, so they're both in front of each other. This causes the storm to form. The storm occurred the night of January 31st. This flood lasted from the 31st of January to the 1st of February. The flood affected the Netherlands, Belgium, England, and Scotland. The water had risen 5.6 meters than the average sea level. That is equivalent to 18.4 feet. The Netherlands were affected the most out of all of the other three countries, with 1,833 deaths. The Netherlands are a fairly flat country with about 26% of its area under the sea level and 21% of its population is under the sea level. Knowing that the North Sea flood could occur again, the Netherlands decided to take action. They studied on strengthening their coastal defenses. The Netherlands came up with an idea to create an extensive system of dams.
These barriers were meant to protect all of Netherlands.
In 1530, November 5th,
A massive storm created a surge that demolished the small barriers and swept away the dams, which killed around 100,000 people. It was hard for the Dutch government to make solutions, so they made short-term solutions by building canals, ditches, windmills, and so on. These short-term solutions have turned into long-term solutions. The Delta Plan, or Delta Works, was a project to create 3,700 kilometers of dikes and dams. One of the biggest features was a huge seawall that would cost up to $2.5 billion. The plan included a design dam which had removable gates. The gates allowed fish to swim free, keeping the environment the same. However, when a storm comes in, the gates can be quickly held in place as a fortified dam, protecting millions of people from potential floods. Massive pillars span the waterways as far as 3 kilometers or 2 miles long, each at 30 to 40 meters tall and weighing up to 18,000 tons. This plan was most important to the city of Rotterdam, one of the greatest ports in Europe. With the amount of sea traffic, the dam had to let ships through, while at the same time it had to be closed in case of a storm surge and sea level rising. Nowadays, Netherlands is just 1 meter above sea level. As you can see, the Delta Works project has helped Netherlands have no major storm surges from the North Sea flood in 1953 to now. In our opinion, we believe that Miami should catch on to the idea of the dams, dikes, windmills, and so on. Miami is only 2 meters above sea level, and as you saw in late August, Hurricane Irma hit Miami, and if another one hits soon, as well as sea level rising, Miami could be underwater. If Miami has the dikes and dams, as Netherlands does, they would be protected from any future storms. With all the glaciers melting, the sea level rises, and Miami would be underwater looking like this within the next 5,000 years. The effect that urban development has on coastal areas such as Miami and Netherlands has protected millions of people from potential floods, hurricanes, storm surges,
In 100
and so on.
years, Miami will most likely be underwater. Due to Miami being 60% of its total population and area being underwater, they are severely affected by sea level rises. Climate change does not help.
If we don't act soon, climate change could affect Miami with a 4.3 to 9.9 meter sea level rise.
In conclusion, with rising sea levels and climate change, coastal areas are at risk like New York City or Miami. These cities should consider building dams just as the Dutch did with the Delta Works. If these cities do not do this, they are at risk of flooding like the Netherlands did in 1953. Many lives will be at stake. If the government starts thinking of this now, they may save many, many lives, as well as protect important infrastructures like houses, offices, roads, and railways. Dams protect the land from the risk of flooding.
Thank you for listening to our urban development presentation, and I hope you can take this information towards a brighter future for the rest of us. Here are all the links to all the photos, videos, research websites, and more.